Let's take time now. We're going to, before Jack gets on here, we'll do some of the local stuff because he's really good at the whole Outlook thing. In 4A at Harlem, they'll have a part of our regional for our subsectional, and Crystal Lake South will host the other one. And let's take a look at Harlem. The first game will be Monday night. Two games will be Monday night, February 29th, and that's unusual. Should be March 1st, but we're having February 29th. At 6 o'clock, it'll be East taking on Harlem. They played last night. Harlem lost that because they only scored like 2 points in the second quarter, so they'll rematch. And another rematch from Saturday, we'll have Rockford Lutheran taking on Guilford, so those teams will match up. The winner of the first game, East and Harlem, will take on Auburn, so that'll be a fun little surprise. And Hononegah will take on the winner of the Lutheran-Guilford game. Now, Hononegah and Lutheran, if that would work out, although Guilford can play, I've seen Coach Martinetti, they play well. That would be a good game, too, again, because they can surprise you. I'm very interested in the kind of that side of the bracket. I think Lutheran-Guilford could be a very interesting game. You know, Guilford's quietly been playing well. You know, they've been in some games that they have ended up losing, but you know, they've been playing pretty well down the stretch here. And Lutheran's quietly, you know, kind of been playing pretty well too lately. You know, they were struggling there for a while, you know, but they've quietly been playing pretty well. You know, knocked off Winnebago, you know, played good in some games, and you know, I think those three teams there are very, very intriguing. Yeah, if Lutheran can get by Guilford. They beat him Saturday night. Yeah. They beat like 13 points, I think it was, at Guilford. Yep, so if they can do that again, I do think that that's a very, very intriguing matchup. You know, we spent a lot of time talking about Hononegah and how dangerous they can be, you know, but I think Lutheran could be a dangerous team there too. The one nice thing is you're going to have two very disciplined teams in that game. You know, I don't know if anybody will blow anybody out. It'd be one of those games where an 8-point win might feel like a blowout. Because I think it'll just have two disciplined teams playing some good basketball. Be interesting to see how that shakes out. And if Auburn and Hononegah would happen to meet in the final, that'll be a good one because I know a lot of Auburn people. I posted what Gordy said last week when he was on with us with Fun with Gordy because he was at that game that went in overtime. That got a lot of hits. A lot of people were looking at it, and I could see that Auburn was checking it out just to see what they thought because, you know, Gordy was just there scouting, so he really didn't have any, you know, irons in the fire. Yeah. But that's still going to be an interesting matchup because that'll be on the mind of Auburn. Yeah, it absolutely will be. You know that they will want retribution for that. You know, I kind of had, of course, different angle. You know, I was seeing the highlights on TV from that one. I had a bit of a different take from Gordy. You know, I thought there was a foul. I thought the shooting foul was kind of a stretch. Regardless, you know, Auburn will want another piece of Hononegah in that game if they can both get there. You know, an interesting thing to watch is if it ended up being Auburn and Lutheran, you know, if there would be any letdown from Auburn, you know, not getting that second chance at Hononegah if something like that shook out. But, you know, they are a dangerous thing. I still think, you know, regardless of the Hononegah win last week, I still think Auburn is the favorite there in that regional to get through to the next round. And I still think, you know, again, when you look at that entire sectional, you know, I think Auburn, you know, or Hononegah could easily make a run and get to a supersectional. You know, you talked a little bit about the changing to the subsectional and stuff. What happened was, you can see it on the brackets, is that when Auburn and Hononegah went 2-3, you knew they would be in the same regionals. But when Prairie Ridge and Crystal Lake South went 1 and 4th, you're saying, well, that'll take care of that. And so you kind of, but you do separate it a little bit because of the old way they did it. They probably would have all been playing each other already and that type of thing. So it's kind of a weird deal. But if Prairie Ridge would have been a 2 seed and Auburn would have been the 1 seed, Auburn probably would have ended up going. Or if Crystal Lake South and Hononegah could have flip-flopped, you know, and that would have. It would have been nice to seen those two teams separated a little bit more, especially because the one thing I do like are those two, which is something I wondered until the bracket came out. Those two regionals are separated within the sectional, and what I mean by that is subsectional. What I mean by that is the winner of those two regionals are not going to end up facing each other in the sectional semifinals. If the winner of those two regionals face, it would be in the sectional finals. You know, which in theory we could get Jefferson there. You could still get an all Rockford final. But the thing I like about that, you know, the one good thing I guess if you look towards the future is, you know, if the seeds do start falling differently, you know, as we look into the future,
in some different years, we do have that potential where we could get, 2 teams from the area if we've got 2 teams worthy, into that sectional final. If you'd maybe have a 1 and a 2 seed from this area, if Hononegah and Auburn were both 1 and 2, you could have it set up where they could both get into the sectional finals and really play for a bigger prize.
And when you look at it, they draw those seeds for the sectionals and stuff at the state earlier. They did it a couple months ago. So that's all predetermined. It's not like, well, we're going to do this and that. It's predetermined. Plus, it's the Supersectional this year is at Sears Center for our guys. And Rock Valley College is hosting the sectional, so that's really nice for us. We got the sectional.
Yeah, it'll be a really nice run there in 4A. I was kind of interested to see the 3A super sectional for Boylan, assuming they get there. They're still going to DeKalb at NIU. So that is kind of, if we did get 2 teams there, we'd have to separate. One of us would have to go to one go to the other. So it is kind of interesting to me that they did separate out that way. But I think some of that has to do with who Boylan is paired up with in their super sectional there, as far as some of the Peoria teams and things like that. Whereas, as opposed to the 4A teams are kind of more with some suburban teams.
Be the first year that DeKalb doesn't get a 4A super sectional because in the past they had both of them there. They play.
Well, I think they still have one.
They could. Are they sending different people there?
It's just a different grouping that's going there. I think maybe some of your Bloomington teams are going to end up there, if I remember right. So
I don't see it here.
Well, I think you're still in 3A, aren't you?
Oh, I'm in 3A, yeah.
Yeah, so you got to go up to... So 3, Boylan's going to 3A, but I do think that there is a 4A super sectional. Like I said, I just think you're...
real quick. I think you're right.
I think you're just maybe getting like some Bloomington teams or something like that.
So they changed some stuff around because in the past...
About who's going where,
DeKalb. And they've got the Aurora East coming in and Lockport's coming in that way.
Okay, I was wrong about who was going there.
That'll happen there. That's like Bolingbrook's in the one side and Naperville North is in the other side. And what's throwing it off a little bit is there's getting to be a lot more of those little schools coming in and the divisions are getting split up a lot different.
Yep.
And that causes... When you see Stillman Valley going to 2A, that's Stillman Valley.
3A.
When you see South Beloit going to 2A, last year was in 1A. Something happened to flip them up that way.
Stillman did jump up to 3A, though.
Yeah, they're 3A.
So
and they're real happy about that, I can tell.
I'm sure. So you do have a lot of movement. I mean, obviously, and this has to do with a lot with their success, but, you got Lutheran all the way up in 4A now. And
here's why Stillman Valley's probably not going to be real happy. If they win their first game on the 29th against Rochelle, they're the 8th seed, Rochelle's number 11, they get to play Boylan.
Yeah. I don't think...
Oh, boy.
I don't think either team will be happy if they win,
And in the other game, it'll be Woodstock Marion taking on Freeport. So the only 2 that had to play the extra game was Stillman Valley and Rochelle. So, but
it'll be interesting the way that shakes out. But like I said, you look at that, and it should be pretty smooth sailing for Boylan.
And then you go to the Woodstock Regional. Belvedere is the 6th seed. They'll play Woodstock North on the 29th in the first game. Genoa Kingston is a 5 seed. I'll tell you what, Genoa Kingston's got Tommy Luca. Last night they upset Johnsburg, who's had a great year. No, it was Burlington Central. They beat Burlington Central, who had won that East. And Tommy Luca says, it wasn't an upset. We were expecting to beat him. So I like that kind of kid, and I'm hopefully going to see him. Marengo will face the winner of the Belvedere-Woodstock North game, and that'll be good. So you could see a couple of those teams from the Big Northern. This is the last year for the Big Northern, the way it's set up. So
I tell you what's fun about that regional, and I don't know about as far as any of the teams having a chance like against Boylan down the road or anything like that, but you got some good players in that regional.
Oh, my gosh, yes.
You look at Barnes, Deontay Barnes at Belvedere. You got Tommy Luca at Genoa Kingston.
Zach
Knobloch at Marengo. That'll be a fun regional to watch, just to see the players that are some of the individual guys. I think you could have some fun matchups. I was at the game last week where, Barnes had 30 and Dixon from Jefferson had 29. I think you could see some games like that, if you get Knobloch and Luca matching up again, or Barnes against one of those guys where, you got 2 guys just kind of going at it, trying to outscore each other, and that'll probably, have a big factor in who wins the game.
Genoa Kingston and Marengo played a couple times this year, and they have been barn burners.
Yep.
between Knobloch and Luke. I hate to see those two kids leaving because I've been following them this year. It's been kind of a lot of fun. And Knobloch, of course, probably like number 3 now in the all-time 3 points. I did a story on him earlier, thanks to their coach and his mom. They helped me out with a bunch of stuff. He's just had a great couple of years. But that kid can shoot threes. If I watch some video on him, I don't care where he's at. He pops them.
I tell you, he's having a great year. You know, got to go out and play quarterback for a football team that ended up doing really well.
I think he stepped off the football field and played in a tournament game like the next day almost. Remember that? I mean, they lost to Phillips, and then they did that.
Talk about a big man on campus.
Yes.
Star quarterback, star basketball player.
I saw his girlfriend. She's cute, so it's working.
I don't even know if he plays baseball, but he could probably step out there and be their best starting pitcher.
He does drive the bus, though, to all the games.
I know.
So we're going to take a time out. When we get back, you're going to find out the real expert on this deal is Jack Gleason. He knows about the teams that maybe Boylan's interested in a lot down the road. So we're going to take a time out. We'll be back with our friend Jack Gleason in just a moment here on the Stateline Sports Hour, here on News Talk 1440 WROK.